now, but I know I'm still supposed to be documenting this and like putting this out here for whatever reason. I've been listening to, a lot of other tarot readers that had been being attacked the way that I was throughout this past couple of years. And that last video, that rant, if that's how you found me, and I just changed my name on here to Chastia Cap because that is who I am now. Because I was an adopted rape baby, I was in the system. I'm not. I'm there. There's a bunch of us that were always here. This was even in the Bible. They were always here. We didn't understand that either until it all started happening to us. And this is depending on what star systems and connections you have. You might have Bible people even in your story. Like, do you have a lot of people in your story that have Bible names? Or are they galactic names? Or are they Buddha names? Like, there's a reason that over time these and understand that those of us in our own way, each of us, and there's at least 30 million of us on the planet. Everyone always asks me what's the number, and I it's only been about a month or so ago whenever we took over the harvest for sure and everything was classed in, that I knew for a fact that there were 30 million of us on the planet that were ascended enough and activated enough in all facets of everything that we took over and we were running everything. Now, we knew that etherically, right? We're still seeing, and we're going to start seeing these changes more and more because everything is a process. Because even each of those beings within those organizations are having to activate, and even me showing up and doing these videos is done instantly in time, and this is new information that has never, welcome to a pure reality. Breathe. Twin programs manifested over time because of how the now this is a culmination of Irish, mainly the Irish line. For me, when this is where it started, so I can only speak for me, and I can only speak for what I cleared and the connections then that I made within the earth after I cleared them, because the main link that was missing on the planet happened in the Tudor stuff. For whatever reason, everything that I've had to live through in this lifetime to make the connections, and even my son Rex James and Mary Queen of Scots, and because I've lived her whole life, this life with my divorce and everything, like, your life will mimic these characters if you're in those lines. That's my point. This is when you start talking about it with other people, you start realizing that. So on the Irish side, the original families and the original sacrifice to make a new earth linked into what they called the Leah Fail. And then, if you will, per what we, because, and how long ago that was. Because when you hold that energy, and now you can hold that energy in a lot of ways now, which is what's really super cool down here on New Earth. When you hold that energy, you are organic, and a lot of sacrifice went into making it, though, in those lines on all sides. I mean, and this is where even menstrual blood being planted in the earth and things like that, well, there were DNA reasons for that, because that blood literally needed to be put in the earth where that person was buried, because they knew that they would manifest the planet, because in those lines, in those days, we were all trained and we knew that we manifest, like in that Tudor line specifically, and in those lines connected back into Ireland, you make everything grow quick. You make everything grow quick. So, depending on how like, are you more connected in, I don't know your energy, and I don't know your bodysuit, and I don't know where you are on the earth, but depending on where you are, and that's what's cool now, like, but you could manifest a whole bunch of jungle, or like me, when you're here in LA, you might be putting a whole lot of high plasma frequency. But whatever it is, it's organic in nature, because of the sacrifice of you and all that came before you. And then there was always a missing line. Well, that it ended up being what a lot of people would call the mimicking and the Masonic and da 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 da, and how they had cemeteries in that crazy land called Aphrodraconic at the bottom of the ocean. How they did their like fishy cemeteries where it was like just brother, sister, yeah, okay. Because those were contracts basically selling off those lines, but they would, I mean, it was on somebody's back. It's how it was. Those of us that come through ascension through those lines, we understand that now. But it's like when we understand it, it's like, okay, now our life makes sense. It's not even like we're upset when we finally figure it out, if you're in those lines, because then you're like, oh, da da. Now my life makes sense, how it's been so nuts, right? But we're talking Druid lines too, because when you get in the Irish now, that's what Druid is. This is all leading up to twins. When you get in those lines, now you're talking about Druids. Well, now you're talking about being, and this is what intuition is, and this is, and you have this no matter what, and this is what your star anatomy and your where you are, your astronomy of you helps you remember where you are in those connections. Oh, clearing. What time is it? 9:56. 911. 911. Just FYI, 911 is in my world. Monads, dragon, galactic family, highest, and lowest. 711 is the equator, like surface, walking, or shadow. So if you're seeing like 711 a lot, it's what's walking on the ground right in front of you, or it's the shadow because it's still on the ground. If it's 311, then those are soul numbers. That's Shambhala, or that's soul, or that's inside, right? So 311, 711, 911. 911 to me is family, also white butterflies, FYI. That's just my things, but if you see them. Druid, that's my point. Motorcycles, clearing. My crew and I have known that for a couple of years, that because our energy was getting so big as we'd move around and have to clear and transmute so much. And it got to a point where we couldn't run routes anymore to keep up with it. And we were calling in stuff, and because of the Irish lines, and because I had to go claim Sturgis with Fernando, who's a hard rocker, I love him to death. I haven't talked to him in a while. Fernando, if you're out there, I love you, man. All the beings that came in and traveled and worked with me, holy crap, man, they jumped in. We all did. We're all still in shock from it, I'm sure. Twins, druid, understanding that at a deep level, because that druid thing, then in this particular ascension, because of technology and because of satellites and fractalization and yuck, then that's where the galactic perspectives and all these other perspectives and all these other timelines and all these other dimensions of da 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 and perceptions of da 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 all formed over a million year count. Because remember, see, this is all still talking about twins. Twin energy is like, in a lot of ways, people call it the dragons, and it maybe did back then manifest dragons. I'm not going to dispute that on this realm, but in this realm, it manifests as a dragon, but up here it's I just see it from a very simple form, because it's elemental in a lot of ways because of the spheres that align within those DNA counts. And we were always here to manifest the human body the way that it is right now, that we just did with the energy that's here right this second that we just brought in. Everything else that we've ever done per H stories, and I call them H stories because there is a her story on it, but screw it, let's just call them H stories. They're the bridge stories. Everything else that's per the time counts of anything that's written that's still available are now in a computer, which people think is only legit if it's in a computer, but whatever, is bullshit. It really is. You know, when we started, and how do I know? Because I was in those Irish lines, and all of us were undoing and seeing as we were having to birth out of it and connect through the processions and connect through all the timelines in our own different ways. That's what we've all been doing. You know, it's like if you had to go to the courthouse all of a sudden, and if you had to get a new driver's license, and if you had to, I mean, I know it was, you know, and it's still going to be more, but that's why. But not like the past 3 years, because you were all proving who you were because of what you had proved spiritually, and then you didn't realize that's why you had to go get that bank account or cancel this or da 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 da. But even on another dimension, what you were doing is showing up and telling them who you were. It gets pretty deep. But that's where we're talking about with twins right now, because see, on in the biblical story, Joshua and Mary Magdalene would be twins, and I use this with Syrian energy all the time. Why? Because, well, Joshua was more the reptilian. Joshua was the reptilian. Joshua was the reptilian. Joshua was the one connected into the earth side. There were many different families that manifested and put intention. I'm just talking about the Irish side. See, I don't have the whole story because I was connected into all those druid lines, and I was made pure spirit in order to be able to channel this pure knowledge, to be, and all this cross program and all that crazy stuff that Christy was put on, and the Mormons and remnants and blah 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 blah. However, I know for a fact that there is no way that any being could have figured this shit out if they wouldn't have lived every single piece of it, because it was so subtle in the end that there was no, I mean, my God, I'm still in a human form getting my mind blown as I'm coming out of it, and just trusting and trusting and trusting and trusting and following my intuition no matter what. But no way in 2020, when all this was happening, that as a, I mean, because if you hadn't, because if I hadn't had all my 24 years of experience in technology, knowing from the base root of how every C code is made, and all that I did throughout all of that, you know, and you know, all the experiments that were done on me, and knowing what they hooked me into, and knowing what they put in me, and knowing what drugs they fed me, and you know, knowing da 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 da, and then knowing how they stole the company, and knowing all about artificial intelligence and Obama and how da 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 da, and then I got activated. You see, like, and then it was like it was this and this and this. So it's like there ain't no way I could have figured it out if I hadn't had endured the karma and lived it all in some aspect, and that's, and no matter what, and there was pieces of it that I didn't have to replicate this second time around, that I just kind of skipped through, and just, you know, I could do it in my dreams or whatever. And same with y'all, like there's pieces you have to live, and then there's pieces that you just have to recognize, and then you get to skip over them, right? But anyway, that's all connected to twins, because that goes into what Buddha and Christ energy, Mary Magdalene was pure beta. She was pure B. She would be more like me, pure AB negative. See, my whole problem the past 2 years is I was coming out of this and they were trying to delete me and all this crazy ass shit, was that I'm an AB negative. I can bring in the frequency. I can channel it. But down here in this physical realm, until all of y'all linked in and the collective linked in, I didn't have any power at all, right? I could channel it, but I didn't have anything because it's so high frequency. It's like literally like a Macy's Thanksgiving Day float. You got it. It really is. I swear to God, that's why they did it too. We're cutting cords, but you have to have a network. Like, we have to work together. This is how you do it. This is how they're doing it. This is all you have to do. Like, we just all need to, if we've got big groups of us going on missions and da 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 da, just some of us need to know about it. Like, let us know so we can hold you in our minds and nothing will mess with you. Like, we just need to connect. Twins. Mary Magdalene gave all the information to Yahshua how to manifest the fish. Yahshua and then did that, and then with his energy he could manifest the fish, but it was all done with everybody there and those two frequencies. That is an example perfect of how twins work together. The problem, and that goes back to ancient Egypt. That's just balance. That's how this energy works down here. We're learning more and more about it. It's going to be really fun to figure it out when we get into freaking decent unions. But I've only without sex is how I know it in the pure form without any sexual energy, just male female is in this realm is my current Akashic information on this realm, okay? Which has been a blessing because I've learned how to work with other men and all that without any of in that, but then how to balance it out and work together, and especially when the feminine's so masculine. See, back to twins. Because the whole thing is, in a galactic human, you're both of them within one. But you still carry a gender here, right? If I was in a male form, I would have been able to concrete it by myself a whole lot quicker just because I was male. I swear to God, there's something about it's like a compass that hangs down. I don't know. I haven't figured it out on the DNA. Actually, I want me to tell you, I think it's funny. I think it's, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I just know too much about the evolution of the body, I think. I'm not going to say it. But men's energy down here, it matters. It matters if there's men throughout my journey. I always had to have at least men that I was talking to, at least on channels or something, that because we would be on Polo or we'd be somewhere and we'd need assistance or something was happening, and since there wasn't any masculine energy in our reality, we had to have men around us in order to help us bring in the manifestation quicker. It's important. It's like it all has to work together and we all have to agree. It's not necessarily that we always do with and you can call it, because us women, we're just channeling the highest spiritual information. It's not necessarily always the right move right that very second. We know that. The thing is, we didn't have any masculines and enough masculine women that were able to, because of whatever, and there was a bunch of fucking shit going on, so who fucking knows, whatever, that were able to step into those roles, right, in order to bridge that. So just be conscious of that, this, when we're talking about us coming into union and everything right now, like with these hue meets and stuff, I swear and see, this is twins. And then also, what then, because then races were set up with it, and this is where it just got all kind of messy, I believe. Now I think we're still getting, this is it's a co-experiment. It really is. We're going to be defining more of all this as we start uncovering and meeting one another and telling our stories, exactly what all happened within that program. And I mean, within the lines and how they were mixed. I know on mine, it was remnant Mormon stuff connected into my adoption and the Catholic Church and Mormons. I can't say it again. I think Mormon and that Abe, and then sixth generation. So it's like I found out my great great grandfather on one side is John Wesley Hardin, which is like a notorious gunslinger, kind of like a Billy the Kid type. But then if you go back, because which is why I was in the South. But then if you go back, then you find you really look at like Billy the Kid and what they were doing is kind of like what we're doing here, trying to stop real estate and da 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 da. And they were all 5'2". We're all short. We're short. We're short. And that line that was all, because they took off cross country hunting for his ass. I know how that feels. Whatever. And then on the other side, it was Ernest Cook, which was like he gave castles and shit away, but which then made sense as to, because the company, they were in travel and da 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 da. See, but the reason I had to know about this stuff and is because when we activated and all this energy, I mean, why I had to find out that my family was cooking da 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 da, honestly, was because we had just blown Notre Dame and we had just cleared the sexual energy as a collective. And I just reached out to Clear Blue Jay. She just messaged on here, "Hey girl, we did that together." She's another AB negative, more like from what we would consider the future realm. Her and I had this experience together because we had to blend these and do Isaiah 54, and when we did, Notre Dame blew. And the reason I had to know at that point what family I was connected into is because in my mind I had to understand that I owned the railroad system. Literally. Because energetics and how we were having to run energy to one another and be able to not make everything just explode and all that, like we but under that's I had to start understanding that my family's owned things in order for me to use it as an alchemical transmutation for the collective. That's how I found out, and had to use it. We all did as a collective. And then we were able to utilize those. What happened on the other side is what got fucking nuts. Because then once that happened, and once we did all of that, then it just became the Wild West down here, and a lot of people didn't realize it because a lot of people, you only knew if you were in the know about it, because you were only the highest descended here in this realm at the time, as everyone else is activating, or as you were activating, or as you're still activating, or freaking whatever. We're all still activating, but I mean, this is just a catch up. I just saw Pulp Fiction. See, that's my point. Anyway, now a lot of the things that we're talking about in twin merge is another version of you. It really is. And I just talked about, how I started claiming things and then how they started showing up in my reality. Because, I mean, Jason Momoa and all that I didn't go looking for him. I wasn't a fan. I didn't. Those of us who have twins that are hybrids that are inside different agencies or entertainment or musicians or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you didn't go looking for him. You weren't fawning over him. You might not have even known who the fuck they were, because for the most part, I didn't know who this dude was. It was like it was and actually, it was Lenny Kravitz that it started it, because he had the Lizard King DNA for whatever reason in the whole deal. And I can't, and when I had to put that back together in April, right before Gold Spike and all this was 2019, then it was like literally in my consciousness, boom, boom, this big energy dropped out. Like and I said, oh my God, it's not Lenny, it's Jason. And then that was it. There was not, I wrote it down, and then I didn't think about it. I didn't do nothing about it. And then it was December 20th, 2019. Somebody messages me on Instagram saying that it's him. Now, this was also when we had just all activated. So our hearts were like, we were pure. Like we had just come through, and see, that was the thing. And this was always what they did. I mean, it was like, it's because when we talk about this twin merge now, it's like a galactic pirate thing. It really is. I'm not blaming nobody. It is what it was. Ba, 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 ba. Just like, but it is. Because it's how it came at us, no matter fucking what. Because we were all so pure, so pure, so pure. Because we were clearing the entire damn collective, all the freaking sexual energy and all the Marsan energy and all the demon energy and the witchcraft and the freaking crazy ass shit that we've all had to clean since 2017 blew us wide open. We didn't have nothing to hold our hearts together, and they knew it. But we're y'all's heart, because now we were the planet. I mean, Australia fires, ding, 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 ding. That could have been stopped very easily. I blame whoever the hell was pretending, or whoever is Jason Momoa, for all Australia fires. The earthquake in Turkey that whatever killed 1,000 Pride of Gypsies. I can prove it. Turkey, Germany, Chase Bank, Zurich Bank, Bank of America. They's all in on it. Good Lord, have mercy. The extent that has gone down here for this merge not to happen has created multidimensional personalities to the point where I have to show up and explain to you how your brain works now, because that's how many times they've cut off our connections so that we wouldn't be able to activate the human race. And that's just the truth. Is the moon in Libra right now? I don't even like this is I feel like I'm holding court. It feels good to at least hear someone else say it, doesn't it? I stand for all of us. I always have. I was blamed a lot of times in a lot of spiritual communities for going dark. A lot of times. But I never went dark. I just went under to figure out what the fuck was going on. We all were doing that. If you were walking on those lines and you were supposed to be figuring it out, especially if you really, really, really held those royal lines. If you didn't, then thank God you didn't have to deal with it. Now I'm telling you how it's going to affect you now. This is where the wisdom, you know, and we're still writing these stories. What sucks is some of us held a lot of Libra and we have to be justice. What sucks is being conscious and loving somebody as a soul so much and understanding that there is no time and having to make moves without people that you really, really, really know you want to be in front of you, and you even know that they want to be in front of you. But the thing is, there's way too much in between. That was obvious. But it has nothing to do with love or an emotional thing, not in this now, because in this now we're bridges. That was the whole point. Love saved us all. It really did. Every single one of us that are on this channel that are watching these, especially in 2021, and if you've been following me, y'all know. My heart, I hope you feel it right now. I feel it. It's opening up right now. I hope I've been praying that it does. I've got all my green stuff on. Finally talking about it is maybe opening it up finally. We've all been through so much. And I just I know that it feels like everything's not just exactly how we want it right now. But just look back a week ago when you're conscious and you're living through it. And what I want all my divine feminines to know is that I know for a fact we did not take second best. We're holding out for the dream. We're holding out for the fantasy. We ain't taking seconds for shit. We came here for the love that we need in order to clear this mess down here. And it is what's going to show up no matter what. And all you that walk this, you did it for your kids. So they didn't have to do it. If it makes you feel any better. To know that whatever you experienced in the past couple of years that broke your heart through this ascension of all that you already know that you came here to do and prove in your own right. And if you were messed with and your heart was messed with and all that in any way, I promise you it is being rectified. But what I would also just remind you is that you cleared it for your kids and you did a hurry up real quick that saved a lot of generations. Pain that they didn't deserve for any reason. And I know as a mother, and that's what this is now, a maternal planet. So I know as a mother, and look, I'm channeling this right now because I haven't thought about this. So I guess we're going to have some more understanding of those connections now. But I mean, I'm just now finding out with y'all. So it makes it all a little bit more bearable. Twins down here and RH negatives and all that, because that's what the negatives were made from, like the twin programs. But we always, whether you knew it or not, we were clearing your family's shit and your shit, is what it ended up being. And I didn't know this either, like, until we started walking through this, and then I started seeing who we were connected to, and then you start understanding who you're connected to, because I was adopted and I was a rape baby, and fuck, I don't even, who knows? I don't even know. I don't know where I came from in this life. And as I started walking through it, it's like I was shown all of it, and then different pieces started activating under different transits, and I was slowly shown who I was. And that's what happens when you go through your process. A lot of you just already know or already knew who you were. So then, but, or you were finding out different pieces and different links and da 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 da, right? But then, so there were different families that over time, this is what they did. This is like, even India and the Kabbalah. I mean, when this first started, it was a race. It was a race. Like, we just happened to be the organic ones that were following intuition and always ended up in the right place, right time. Everybody else was trying to outthink it. And I mean, that went on February 2019 to after Sedona. Definitely through Sedona, it was a race. In the early in Vegas, yeah. A world race, the amazing race. The reason they made them study and da 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 da. I mean, we had we had competition, but we were like, it was nuts. But that's my point. It's not that there's nothing wrong with that. That's how they were always trained, and because they trained and because they had the knowledge, then it created those avenues in order to make those connections, and all of it was created. We all did it together. It, you know, it all had to be done. As far as I'm concerned, with all that I know, and I don't want to teach everything that I know because honestly, there's a layer to being on earth that I really wish I didn't know, because there's a layer at the end that I had to get to in order to get out that made me less human in a lot of ways because I know too much. This was a Hail Mary mission to earth. We made it. Just the more that understand that, there's pure beings here. We know how to assist. You knew we were coming. We're all here to help each other. And we have amazing gifts and amazing talents and amazing Akashic libraries to connect amazing things and produce brilliant futures, because we definitely know what the fuck isn't gonna work because we just came from the future. And nothing will be allowed to be built in union, no marriage contract, paper, fake, bullshit, stealing of identities, or anything like that is going to change any timeline and any destiny that is written and always was laid in order to connect for this bridge. And that just is what it is. And to all you activated, ascended out there, it's not an eighth grade dance. We're all wounded. We all are. We all are. We all are. We all are. We all are in our own, all have different gifts and things that we're trying to determine, that we don't understand yet, that we're still trying to figure out who we are, where we need compassion, we need touch, we need someone, we need people around us who aren't just trying to penetrate us. Oh God, that's funny. But it's true. Like, I'm having to have conversations with people like, do you ask people out on a date? Like, I'm not just gonna jump in bed with you. Like, I know this might be a weird conversation for you, but it's like I'm having to teach people, like, and it's taken all right, but it's like it still has to be discussed. But it's new for me too, because I was in an old program and I'm demanding to be courted. I've never been properly dated. I never had the luxury. I was always in a Azarian monarch breeding program. Fuck all that. You were taking me out and you're buying me dinner. I'm getting flowers too, just like the others did. If y'all were in the same shit I was, you know what I'm talking about. I'm making sure of it. I'm putting my foot down. For reals, for reals. Because sensuality and romance, and I mean, go listen to the 90s again. Music. That's what we need as a society, as just because of intention even, but passion and desire for anything, because everything was artificial, nothing was real. It wasn't. Now it is. Things are real now. The thing is determining who you are and what you want, and twin, no twin, it's all fucking the same thing, because you're putting yourself back together, and then when you do, you manifest the pure version of you. Most of the time, we don't like who shows up. Wait, you're not who I ordered. Wait a minute. See, I can't get mad. You know, I know why it's connected. I know why he's in Red Rum. I know da 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 da. What I'm mad about is all the blah 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 that's been going on recently, and I'm just done with it. 'Cause, but I manifested that. That's I created. You have to deal with your creations. Sucks sometimes. Sometimes they're the best thing that ever happened to you, but you still have to deal with them, but you created it. So it's like, because it's going to be because you've been creating it a really long time. And you were creating it with collective energy, because there's not very many that had to be created. So it it's not necessarily per your visual consent or da 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 da. It's manifesting per DNA lines, because like I have two twins. I have another one. I'm not speaking on that one right now. But but one is a higher DNA count. And this is a lot of us too, when in these unions it matters who we merge with, because then that's setting precedents in DNA counts, especially if you've been if you're a virgin in this realm and you're waiting for union, which a lot of us are, then it does make a difference who we all mate with, because that's going to set a new frequency. And what has been being determined over all this time, over all our suffering and was basically what was going to be able to balance out and sustain. And we're basically waiting to see what walks out, to be honest. Like, we're right there. It's like and that's probably why I'm on here talking about all this now, because we're waiting to see, because it is that big of a deal. Because whatever it is, now it's not that you don't have free will and they'll be different, but the highest will be set. And then depending, and we're in our, especially those of us who are AB negative, like we're real high. So wherever we set, wherever I set, makes a big difference, which is why, and I've known that from all four royal lines, which is why I've been supported by the ancestors and guarded so much throughout this whole process with the rest of you. Even though it broke our heart in the process. But we've all been guarded. Like, that's why. That's why. Because that's why this is how important it is. So follow your heart and know that that coin of all the bubbles. And now we know, after this video, I have to go back and watch this. Now we know after this video that this was healing our children. Oh my God, I hadn't thought about that. And I mean, even somebody had told me this has something to do with Rex, but I couldn't figure that out. But then that makes sense, because we went to the future 300 years within DNA. And y'all, I swear the vaccinations are what caused a lot of what we just lived through. The macrosity of it in the future is, I believe, what blew the Unix boxes blue. It's why I keep saying everything blue, because I came from a realm where everything did. But I know in this timeline when the button was pushed. Hold your faith. Keep your energy high. I know we're downloaded a lot. Feels like we're on Judgment Day. So I don't mean to bring up a whole bunch of shit, but evidently it's coming out for a reason. And what I'll say now is go chill. Is go let it wash over you and clear you. And then, as best you can, I know it's late tonight, or wherever you are on this spinning ball. Just put yourself in a good energy state and let it clear. Don't fester in any emotion. Don't fester in it. Let whatever this all was pass through you, whatever's supposed to connect the hula hoop, I promise. And then that's what you need to focus on. Let the rest wash over you. And if parts of it resonate, no, you were never alone. You're still not. We're roping this calf in.
Okay.